Welcome back, dear students of class 9. Today we are going to uh, start with the part 3 of our chapter 3, Elementary Concepts of Objects and Classes. Students, in this chapter, we'll be basically talking about message passing between objects. Okay, so let's start the topic. Uh, Now, let us quickly recap what you have studied till now. Okay, now uh, you have studied what are objects, okay, or what is an object. So, what is an object, students? Okay, when you look around you, you will see different objects everywhere, like your chair, okay, the table, the pen, the book, fan, okay, door, etc., your mobile phone, your computer, your laptop. All these things are your objects. Okay, you yourself are also objects. Okay, now object, students, are divided into four categories. Okay, there can be tangible objects, then there can be intangible or conceptual objects, then there can be roles and events. Okay, so in object oriented programming, objects are divided into four categories. Okay, tangible objects, conceptual or intangible objects, roles or events. Okay, now tangible objects. What are tangible objects? Okay, so tangible objects are the objects which you can see and touch. For example, your chair, computer, okay, or your mobile phone. Okay, in fact, you yourself are also a tangible object because you can see and touch yourself, right? Now, the next type of object is called as conceptual objects, and conceptual object, students, are also called as intangible objects. Okay, and intangible or conceptual objects exist in this world as a concept. They don't have any physical reality. You cannot see them or you cannot touch them. Okay, for example, your email, okay, your bank account, okay, all these are your uh, conceptual objects. Okay, next, the next type of object is the roles. Okay, so different roles played by people. Okay, like you people play role of a student. Okay, I, being teaching you, I play the role of a teacher. Okay, or a role of a bank clerk. Okay, so all these roles are also termed as object. So if you just take an example, a student. Okay, talk about student. So student is also a object. This student is going to have some attributes. Okay, like the roll number of the student, the admission number of the student. All these are what? Attributes. Okay, and then student will have some behavior also, like studying, playing, okay, eating. Okay, all these are behaviors. So an object always have attributes and behaviors. That's why roles are also objects. Then events, different events occurring in a system. Okay, an event is something occurring in a system. So like if you click on a button, that is also an object. Okay, a sale happening or a purchase happening in a departmental store is also a object. Which type of object? Event type of object. So that sale, suppose there is a sale happening in a departmental store. So what can be the attributes of that? Like the name of the item that was purchased, the price, okay, and what is the behavior of that object. All these are different. So events are also object. Okay, now next, objects are the basic students, objects are the basic units of an object oriented system, or an software which is made up of made by object oriented programming. Okay, so objects are the basic unit of any object oriented system. Okay, an object is an identifiable entity, something that we can identify. Okay, that has its own set of attributes. So each object has its set of attributes, it has behavior, and it also has state. Okay, so what are these things? Let's see. What is attribute? Attribute, students, are the individual characteristics that differentiate one object from the other. Okay, like if we talk about student. Okay, just now I gave you an example of a student object. So a student will have roll number as its or her attribute. Okay, admission number is also an attribute of a student. Okay, the name of the student is also the attribute of the that particular student. Okay, so these are the attributes that different that helps to those characteristics that helps to differentiate from one student to another. Okay, the admission number of each student in a particular organization will be different. Okay, it will be unique, so it will help us to differentiate between different students. Okay, now many students will have different names. Some of it can happen that some students have same name. Okay, but they might have different surnames, but still there is an attribute for identifying them uniquely, which is called as admission number or registration number or something like that. There must be a unique attribute, okay, which differentiates different objects. Okay, then there are something called as behavior. Now behavior is defined by the set of functions or operations an object can perform. Okay, so we have already studied this, and the functions that a object perform or an operations that an object can perform is called as behavior. Okay, for example, running, walking, driving, all these are behavior of object person. Okay, the next is the state, and state is defined by the set of values held by its attributes. So if roll number is an attribute, okay, and suppose a student which is an object has roll number 30, so this 30 is a state of this particular object. Okay, so that's what state means. Okay, now we also studied, student, how to identify abstract attributes like member, variables, okay, and behaviors, okay, of the object. Okay, now for example, we have studied earlier that the attributes of a object are represented through the member variables, or we simply call them as variables. Okay, and the behavior is represented by the member methods, or simply methods. Okay, this also we had studied earlier. Okay, so in object oriented programming, all attributes are represented through the data items in the class known as member variables or instance variables, and the behavior is represented through functions or methods which are known as member methods, or simply they are called as methods. So all these attributes are represented by variables, and behaviors are represented by the methods. Okay, so behavior is represented by the methods. Let's move on. And then you studied that each class specifies a set of methods which are the actions that the objects of that particular class support. Okay, so every class, okay, that you define in object oriented programming, okay, it will specify some methods, and those methods will can be performed by the objects that are inside that particular class. Okay, so this is what we studied till now. Okay, so we have quickly recapped what we studied earlier. Now students, there comes a question, how do the objects interact or they communicate with each other? Okay, or how do we interact with the object, and how multiple objects they interact with each other? Okay, so the first question is, how can we interact or communicate with an object? We can communicate with an object by message passing to an object, by giving a message to an object, and object themselves can talk to each other again by passing messages between each other. So these are the two topics that we are going to study. Okay, message to an object. Okay, we can interact with an object by sending message to an object, and the objects themselves, they can talk to each other or communicate to each other by sending messages to each other. Okay, so let's start with the first topic, that is message to an object. Okay, so let's see what is message to an object. Okay, so students, in real life we communicate with each other by passing messages. Okay, so we talk to each other by passing messages. For example, asking a bank clerk to deposit money, okay, in your account, right? You are giving a message to the bank clerk, which is an object. That clerk is also an object, you are also an object. So what you are telling, you are giving a message to that bank clerk, hey bank clerk, deposit money in my account. Now that account is also an object only, it's an intangible object. If you remember that bank account is an intangible object, on the other hand this bank clerk is a tangible object. Okay, asking the gardener to water the plants, again gardener is an object, plants are also object. Okay, so similarly, communicating with an object means sending messages to it. So to communicate with an object, we need to send message to an object. And what is a message? Message is a request to an object to perform an action or a behavior. Okay, so what is the meaning of message? Message is a request to an object to perform a action. Okay, so in order for an object to perform certain action in our software, we need to send a message to the object. Okay, so let us understand this with an example. Okay, so what does message to an object means in programming? Okay, now look at this particular statement. This is a programming statement. Okay, where this statement. Okay, in this statement, student, there are two words written. Okay, this mobile and iPhone X. Okay, so let us refer to iPhone X object. So this iPhone X over here, this is an object. Okay, and this object iPhone X belongs to this mobile class. So once we define the mobile class, okay, we have here we are taking into consideration that we have already defined a mobile class. Okay, and this iPhone X is an object belonging to this mobile class. So how are you going to represent it in programming? By writing this particular statement, mobile, which is the name of the class, and space iPhone X, which is the name of the object, and then colon. This signifies that this iPhone X belongs to this class mobile. Okay, so this iPhone X is a object of the class mobile. This statement in programming will signify that this iPhone X object belongs to the class mobile. So what is the syntax? Class name, space, object name, and then semicolon. Okay, then if you want the object iPhone X object to dial a number, okay, we need to simply send a message to this iPhone X object. What is that message in programming terms? iPhone.x, which is name of the object. then this dot over here is called as the dot operator. Okay, this dot over here is the dot operator, and you will study about this dot operator in the chapter 5, operators in Java. Okay, so you'll study about this dot operator later on. Okay, now, so what is the syntax to send a message to an object to perform certain action? Okay, iPhone.x, which is object, then dot operator, okay, dial number bracket, okay, so these parentheses. Okay, now students, this dial number is a behavior or a method. This dial number, okay, parenthesis is a method. So what is the syntax that we have created over here? Okay, or what is the syntax over here? Object name separated by dot operator and then the name of the method. So what is this statement signifying? What will this statement do? This statement is a request to the iPhone X object, okay, to call its member method dial number using the dot operator. Okay, so this statement over here is telling our object iPhone X to dial a number. Okay, and inside the parenthesis we can insert the arguments also. Okay, how? Now the next type of the next way in which we can send message to an object is by, suppose I have used this statement, okay, mobile, which is the name of the class, and now I have created a new object, my iPhone.x. What is the name of my new object? My iPhone.x. So this you have already studied just few time ago. Okay, so name of the class, name of a new object. Okay, now if I write a statement like this, my iPhone.x, object name separated by dot operator, and now color, I have written what? Color. What is color? Color is attribute of this object. Color is attribute of this object, my iPhone X. Okay, so if I write this, my iPhone X dot color equal to black, so what will happen? This statement over here, this will update the memory location, okay, with black. So see, the color of the object has become black. Suppose if I write, instead of this black, if I would have written white, okay, inside double quotes and then semicolon. Okay, so instead of this black over here, what would have been updated? White. Okay, suppose instead of my iPhone.x.color, my iPhone.x.color, instead of color I would have used model equal to Z. So over here the value or the state of this attribute would have become Z. Okay, so this is how you can update the memory locations using this dot operator and using a message passing. So this is a message to this iPhone X object to change its value of color to black. Okay, so this is a message passing only. Okay, this is also message passing. Now you may also specify a mobile number as an argument. I told you that inside this method, see, this dial number bracket or parenthesis is a method, and inside these brackets of the method we can include arguments also. So this number over here is nothing but argument only. Okay, so you can write a statement like this also, iPhone X dot dial number, and inside the parenthesis just input the argument. So what this particular statement will do, it will tell your object iPhone X to dial this particular number. So when imagine this is what happens in your mobile phones. Okay, this is the statement that gets executed when you dial any particular number in your mobile phone, but it happens in the back. You only press the graphical buttons on your mobile phone, okay? But this type of method gets executed inside your mobile, and you cannot see this because of abstraction, okay? So what is argument? You have already studied argument in class 8th. Argument means a value passed or assigned to a function, like this mobile number. This is the function or the method, okay, and this is the value which is passed inside the method, okay. Now let's take example of account object, okay, an account object that we had defined in the previous classes. So see, this account is the class name, and my account is the instance or object belonging to this particular class, okay. So class name followed by the object name semicolon, okay. So we have defined an object by the name of my account which belongs to the class account, okay. Now suppose its attributes are like this, okay. So these are the attributes of this particular object my account. So my account's attributes are what? Account number, account name, mobile number, balance amount, overdraft limit, account status, okay. And these are the state that these attributes hold, okay. And this is the behavior: deposit, withdraw, show balance, and enable account, okay. So all these are the behaviors of this particular object account or my account, okay. Now students, suppose if you want to deposit money into this account, okay, if you want to deposit money into this account, you will simply send a message to the account object like this. What message? My account, which is the object name, dot operator, deposit, as you know, deposit is a method or a function, okay. So my account dot deposit, okay, and then inside the method we have given the parameter or the argument, okay. We have given passed the argument. How much? 1050. So see, 1050 rupees has been has come to this account, a balance amount, okay. Earlier it should have been 0. Now the balance amount has become 1050. Why? Because we have deposited 1050 rupees. So this statement will add 1050 to the balance amount variable. All these are different variables, okay. So this is how we pass message to the object, okay. Now the second topic, pardon me, this is not 1, this is 2. The second topic is message between objects, okay. This is a very easy topic, okay. Now objects communicate with each other by sending messages to each other. You have already known this. So different objects, they can talk to each other also by sending messages, okay. The message sending object requests the message receiving object to perform an action, okay. The message sending object is called as the sender, while the message receiving object is called as the receiver. It's as easy as that, okay. Let us take example of depositing money in your bank account, okay. When we deposit money in our bank account, there are two objects involved, okay. The first one is the person. That means we want to deposit money in our account, so we ourselves are an object, yes or no, okay. The holder of the account, okay, we ourselves are the object, okay. And the second is the account itself, the intangible object. We as a person, we are a tangible object, but account is the intangible object. So there are two objects involved, okay. Look at this particular figure, okay. Now in this look at this statement, person Mohit. Okay, so what is person? Person is the class. Person is the name of the class. Okay, and what is Mohit over here? The Mohit over here symbolizes the object belonging to the person class. Okay, object belonging to the person class. Okay, so class name, object name, colon. So what we have said through this particular statement is that there is a class by the name of person and there is an object which belongs to this class, person. Okay, and then account, again class name, my account, object belonging to this particular class, account. Okay, now see, so this is one object, this person Mohit is an object, this my account is also object, this is object, this is object. So now see, this object is sending message to this object. What? My account dot deposit 1050. So this is the sender. Okay, this is the message, this entire statement, and this is the receiver. This object is the receiver. Okay, so this is how message passing between objects takes place. Okay, and due to this message passing, we can update the values of different attributes, we can change the state of different attributes, and we can also perform different actions, or we can request different object to perform different actions, and due to performing that object performing that particular action, the attributes values can change, or the state of the attributes changes. Okay, so with this we finish this chapter. Okay, in this chapter we have completed all these topics: modeling entities and their behavior by objects, class as specification for objects. Okay, and class as an object factory. Class is a factory that creates different objects. Okay, then we have also completed message passing today itself. Okay, then how objects encapsulate state, attributes and behavior methods. Okay, then class as a user defined data type we completed in the part 2 of this chapter. So we have completed our syllabus for this chapter. So we have completed elementary concepts of objects and classes this chapter. Okay, in the 3-part lecture series. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this chapter. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me in the comment section for this particular video. Okay, thank you for listening. Take care of yourself and